Shabbat Shalom, brothers and sisters. My name is Moreh Rapha'Yah, and we're about to just talk a little bit about the Torah portion this morning, which is the Torah Korah. Korah is one of the leaders on this Israel that went against Moshe and Aaron, his brother, and ultimately Yahweh Sabaoth. But in this Torah portion, we will find out why is it that always a person think that he is right when he is wrong. So we are going to find out how this thing came about. Remember that the previous parashat, the Torah portion, talks about how our forefathers rebelled against Yahweh by receiving the evil report from the 10 spies. Remember that they actually went to spy out the land of Israel, and it was full of Nephilims, was full of giants. And yet they believed these 10 spies rather than believe what Yahweh already have established and already have promised. Now we come to Korah. So we see that they stepping or tripping one stone to another. It is ridiculous to see how humans are frail, are literally down to error all the time. So let's just start off. This Torah portion, once again, is super important. And let's find out what is this all about. Numbers 16:1 all the way to 18:32, Parashat 38, or the sequence. Now Korah, the son of Yithar, the son of Kehat, the son of Lewi, together with Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, and On, the son of Pelet, the son of Reuben, took men and rebelled against Moshe. Joining them were 250 men from the sons of Israel, heads of the assembly, chosen counselors, men of reputation. It wasn't only one person, it was quite a few, but the main ringleader was Korah. Korah is the one who thought to himself that he had the right to go against Moshe, but you have to understand, if it was going against Moshe, it was ultimately going against Yahweh, because Yahweh is the one who appointed Moshe in this whole ordeal. Let's find out a little bit more. Number 16, verse 5, and he said to Korah and his entire group, who said this? Moshe. In the morning Yahweh will show who are his, and who is the person Kadosh, and he will, or set apart, and he will allow to come to him. Yes, he will bring whoever he chooses close to him. Of course, Moshe already knew who Yahweh, our Almighty, have chosen. And the person who actually is chosen is Moshe himself and Aaron. All this, we see it all over the scriptures, and yet man always trying to defy Yahweh and his commandments. The problem is all the time is that we always try to go against Yahweh and trying to go with our own will. Remember that Mashiach, when he was he always said many things, and one of the things that he stand out in all the things that he said and he did was the will of Yahweh. Remember the Abinu Hashemayim, the Father who are in heaven, let your will be done, not ours. The problem all the time is that we always want to do our will, not Yahweh's. That's one of the biggest problems. Exodus 31 verse 13 says to the sons of Israel, you observe my Shabbatot, for this is an oath or a sign between me and you throughout your generations, so you may know that I am Yahweh who sets you apart from me. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because in the Hebrew, in the previous verse that we saw, Yahweh speaks in the Torah itself that there is a sign There's a sign there, very simple, very direct in the Hebrew, not in the conventional translations, where the word ot, aleph tau, comes out. Why? Because Yahweh has put a sign, a mark, a sealed in it. Just like us, each one of us, in our foreheads, there is a seal, a sign between our foreheads that we are Yahweh's people, that we are we are set apart for Yahweh's. Those who do the will of Yahweh and those who don't do the will of our Kadosh Baruch Hu. And that's what sets us apart. And let me just give you an example. You see Malachim here, angels, messengers, going to this city of Jerusalem. Look at what it says here in Ezekiel 9, verse 4. Yahweh said to him, "Go throughout the city, throughout the Jerusalem, and put a tau, a mark, on their foreheads of the men who are groaning and weeping all over the iniquities that are being committed in it." It is our responsibility, it is our duty to always cry out for our Creator. If there is wickedness, if there is iniquity, if there is evil in our land, we cannot just sit down and cross our arms and just, everything is good. No, it's not. It's not good. We need to cry out to our Creator. Our Creator is going to do something about it. In this case, they were doing iniquities in the city of Jerusalem. Thus, Yahweh sent angels, malachim, and each one of them were going to put a mark on their foreheads to the people who were tzaddik, people who were set aside, people who were righteous. But those who were doing evil, that mark, that sign, that seal was not going to be on them. What will be on them will be slaughter, will be killed. Do you think I'm making it up? Each one of them, once again, we have a mark, we have a seal. One of the seals are Shabbat. Look at but first of all, let's go into Revelation 9, verse 4. They were instructed not to harm the grass or the earth, any green plant, or any tree, but only the people who did not have the seal of Yahweh in their foreheads. That's what set us apart. That's one of the things that we ought to strive all the time, to always have that mark. And that mark, the Aleph Tau, is our Mashiach. If our Mashiach is not within our lives, we are nothing. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Our Mashiach said, you're nothing without me. He also said that between the Father and us, there is a peretz, there is a breach. And that breach is our Mashiach. That gap, that connection between Yahweh and ourselves is our Mashiach. And that's why we need that mark, that sealed. Numbers 16, verse 9. Is this a small thing for you that he has separated us from you Almighty, from Israel, that has separated you from the congregation of Israel to bring you close to him, that you may do the work of the Mishkan or tent of Yahweh, and that you may stand before the congregation serving him? This is what they disputed. But once again, this is what Yahweh already have established, which is already at that time was Moshe and Aharon. Look at what it says here. Exodus or Shemot 31 verse 13. The sons of Israel, tell the sons of Israel that you will observe my Shabbatot, for this is an oath, this is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, and that you may know that I am Yahweh, who sets you apart from me. It is very vital that Shabbat makes us or set us apart from the world. The world has, and it still has, a set apart day for themselves, which is the sun day, the day of the sun. But we keep the Shabbat, the day to rest for Yahweh, since the very beginning of the creation. He set it apart. He never said, if you remember, a lot of people tend to think that it's for the Jews. If you go to the chapter 2 of Genesis or Bereshit, it says very clear that Yahweh separated for men. Did not say that for Jews. It says men. We have the responsibility to always look for the truth, and the truth is out there. Numbers 16 verse 10. He has brought us you near, and all your brothers, sons of Levi, with you. Now they want the Kohen profession too. This is something that it was argued. Who has separated us from us to our Creator? He has separated us from the very beginning of creation. Hebrews says very clear. So that means that if we are separated as Kohanim, as officials, or priests, remember this, and please write it down, that in Exodus 19, it says very clear that Yahweh speaks to the whole nation of Israel, to our forefathers, over there in Sinai, in the foot of the Sinai. He said, you are a nation you are Goy nation. You are Goy nations apart to me. In other words, I know that Goy is render or they give the definition as Gentiles, but that's not the right wording. The right wording is nations. We are Goy, but we are separate, a Kadosh Goy, which is a separate nation from the world. And let me give you this verse, Leviticus 19:23. When you enter into the earth and plant various kinds of fruit trees, you will have their fruit as forbidden for 3 years. It will be forbidden to you, and in it will not be eaten. The reason why I bring this verse is for you to understand that Yahweh always leaves a pattern. That pattern is left for us to follow. It's like crumb breads. We need to follow that trend. Where is it leading to? And that leads to our Mashiach. But first, in the very beginning of the ministry of our Mashiach, the Avodah, Mashiach did something that we need to find out. Yeshua's Avodah or service began not long after the autumn of Yom Kippurim, which is the middle of the year, and the 29 AD. And when he was 30, 6 months later, he anointed as Mashiach by Yahweh unto the year 33 on the Luach HaTorah, which is the Torah calendar. 3 years with the Talmidim, or the disciples. So 3 years he was training these disciples, okay, because they were not able to do the things that Mashiach could do. They could, but they couldn't. They were not ready. And let me give you examples. Remember when he sent 2 by 2 to heal sick people, to cast demons? Remember they came back and they said that they couldn't do it? And the reason they couldn't do it is because Mashiach himself told them that he couldn't do it. And there is a reason for it. That reason was because they themselves could not perform something very simple, and that simpleness was the prayer, the tefillot, okay, the prayers and the fasting, something very simple, yet they couldn't do it. Yet they couldn't cast out demons. Things like that, you need to go to a different level, a higher level. They could not go to that next level. They needed to be trained more. Let me give you a reason why. Leviticus or Vayikra 19:24-25, and the 4th year of its fruits will be kadosh, or set apart, to exalt Yahweh. But in the 5th year you may eat on its fruits, they may bring forth still more for you. I am Yahweh your Almighty, your Ayil. So basically, it's stating very clear that in the 5th year will be bearing fruit. That fruit, it is what is expected of every Talmidim, every disciple. Each one of us is mandated for us to do so in the 5th year. The 3rd is still training. The 4th will be set apart. But in the 5th, it's expected to do 5 years total, brothers and sisters. It is very important for us to train, to study, to do the things that our Mashiach is being set apart for us to look for. The entire congregation is Kadosh. That's what they said. Okay, look at what it says here. 19 verse 6. And you will be a kingdom of Kohanim to me, or priest to me. A kingdom of Kohanim Goy, which is the set apart nation. That set apart nation, it is expected to all of us. The question is, how? Because the line of Levi is already ended. What Kohanim line are we following to? 14 verse 18. Melchizedek, king of Shalem, brought out lechem, or cakes, and wine, and he was the Kohen, or official of the Almighty. Who was Melchizedek? Who was this man? Who was this person that talks about in Bereshit, or Genesis? That person was none less than Shem. Shem was Melchizedek. Remember this, that Melchizedek is not a person, it's a title. That title was passed on to Abraham. Abraham passed it on to Yaakov, okay? And it was a split later on, which is another video. The point here is that Melchizedek is a title that was ultimately Mashiach took it. Psalms 110 verse 4. Yahweh has sworn, and he will not retract, that you are Kohen forever according to the order, to the line of Melchizedek. You see that? That line is the Mashiach of Israel, Yahushua. That line is the one that we are following. No wonder why these people were really concerned. No wonder why these people were really, really concerned about certain things. Now let me show you something that happened afterwards. Yahweh said to them that because they sinned, then the earth will be cracked open and will swallow them alive. This actually happened, brothers and sisters, because they spoke against Yahweh Sevaot. They spoke against the leadership at that time. Look at what happens afterwards. 16 verse 44. Yahweh said to Moshe, separate from this assembly, and I will destroy them together. For they fell on their faces. Moshe said to Aharon, take your censer, put fire on the Mizbeach, or the altar, and put Ketoret, put incense upon him, and hasten with them to the assembly to make atonement for them. For the fury has gone forth from them, from Yahweh, and the plague has already begun. That was the beginning of the fall, the beginning of something that they already fell. That happens to that generation because they went against our Creator. They went against the leadership, and there was a plague that came about that it is unbelievable how they pretty much die. There was a plague that was killing each one of them. And no wonder why this is written. Look what it says here, Numbers 16:47. Aharon did as Moses had spoken, okay? And what happened after that, brothers and sisters? It says very clear that the assembly, and behold, the plague has begun among the plague, and he lay on the incense and atoned for the people. And what happened after this? It is that it stood between the dead and the living, and the plague. What happened? It was a stay. Do you see that? It was a stay completely because Aharon was sent by Moshe to put between the dead and the living, and the plague stayed because the plague was killing the entire people who rebelled. Look at what Targum Jonathan says very clear. And Moshe said to Aharon, take the censer, put fire in it from the altar, and the sweet incense of fire, bring him quickly to the congregation, and make atonement for them for a destruction like that which consumed them at Horeb, whose name is burning, has begun by the commandment to kill from the presence of Yahweh. This actually happened, and as I always have stated, the past repeats itself. The same happened in Horeb. The same happened in Sinai. Sinai also another plague break off. This happened. The breakout of the plague happened on the mountain Sinai when they sinned with the golden calf. Same thing happened, but something happened with Aharon. He actually stopped the plague, which is another video that we'll bring out because there is something that is a secret in there of the incense that another time I will bring it. In the meantime, what we can get here is the obedience to Yahweh, to obedience who is our creator. Why is it that he commands leadership, and who are we to question the leadership that Yahweh has commanded? The point in here is to be obedient to Yahweh's commandments all the time, no matter what. Our leadership today is Mashiach. Who are we to question the leadership of Mashiach? It is just nonsense. The problem is that we see a lot of Christians who come to the Hebrew roots, to the Messianic roots, and then they jump into the Judaism and they deny the Mashiach at the end, which is totally wrong. But the irony of the situation is there's a lot of Jews that are come to Mashiach now. It's the other way around. But what I can tell you, and what Mashiach says very clear, there is no forgiveness on this life or the next one. Those who blaspheme the Ruach HaKodesh, which is the set-apart spirit of Yahweh, by denying the Mashiach. We'll see you next time. I'm Moreh Rapha'Yah. If you have not subscribed, please do so. There's a lot of productions that we are coming out now, and I would highly suggest for you to do that so you can get the most that we have offer. Shalom. Shabbat shalom. We'll see you next time.